City Talk. Today I am talking to William Royston. He is the Director of Parks and Recs for the city. So all those beautiful spaces you see, he helps everything happen there.
That's the rumor.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about how you got into this role.
Oh, that's a long story. Well, I graduated from college with a degree in landscape architecture, and so I've always had a passion about creating and repurposing outdoor spaces. Worked in the private sector for a few years, and then I got into working, doing project management with the City of Durham. Worked there for about 7 years. Got a lot of experience in the private sector and while working in Durham managing construction projects, and found a way to get very, very creative using funding that we had available. The former director, Tim Grant, told me about a position here as a park superintendent that kind of provided oversight for the capital projects and all of our development. And I started here in August 5th of 2005, and I've been in my current role for about 8 years. And so it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
So are you like our version of Ron Swanson?
Not that much, but I try to, I take great pride in doing things different than getting very, very creative and doing things differently than what you would typically see or you would expect to see in some of our parks. And so it's been a lot of fun. And you know that you're doing something right when you have other municipalities calling you saying, how did you guys do that? Can you send us your details? I mean, that's pretty cool. And it's not only with development, but even with some of our programs and things that we offer, it's an eye-opening. It's a breath of fresh air to know that we're doing something and doing it right.
What park in Winston are you most proud of? I'm not going to say is your favorite because I know people hate that. Which one are you the most, or name 2 or 3 that you're the most proud of?
The quarry at Grant Park, for a number of reasons. I mean, that was shortly after I started here in the city. My maintenance staff took me up to the quarry, and I saw it, and I instantly fell in love. I said, man, this would be a great park. And it basically, at the time, it was this vegetative landfill that the city used to take when trees are down after storms. When they come clean it up, that's where they would take it. They wouldn't chop it up. They would find a place to pile it up, and that would be it. But I was able to kind of see what that site could be for people. And for me working there, I had no idea that this beautiful property was right there behind us. And so starting from there and going through everything that we went through to complete the master plan and subsequently phase 1 and phase 2, seeing that we had this vision and then we were able to build it, it's one of my, because of what I was able to learn about that site, it's one of my favorites. I have another one, which is the Washington Park, which is a great one, the playground there. I take great pride in that. That was a lot of fun to do. I think it was one of the first glass reinforced concrete types of playgrounds that we did here in the city of Winston. And I remember going to a community meeting over at the Y where we presented this information to the public. And my boss at the time hadn't even seen the layout for the playground. And we played this YouTube video, and the parents that were there attending it literally started crying because they were so excited. They were like, are we actually going to get this? And we built it. And so it was cool to have the same company that does designing and creativity for Disney come do something here for the city of Winston-Salem. So take great pride in that.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
So what do you love about Winston now that you've been here a while?
Winston culturally, it's one of the most diverse places I've been. And I've lived in a lot of different places, but between the history, the variety of different cultures that we have here, the uniqueness of our landscape is very, very interesting. There's water all over Winston-Salem. There have been 2 or 3, maybe even 4 earthquakes here in Winston since I've been here. There's a fault line that I believe runs right down First Street.
So ironically, there was an earthquake like a couple hours after my first daughter was born.
Really?
Yeah. So we tell her she made the ground shake.
That's awesome. I mean, so there are a lot of very unique things happening here in Winston, and so I think it's we're not too far from the mountains. We're not too far from the beach. The city, on record, they say we have 254,000 people. It's probably closer to 300. It's the right size. Growing up in Atlanta, where it's just you go to a grocery store at midnight and it's packed full of people. It's just a much more relaxed environment. I live on the north side of town, so I call it the boonies, but I have a way to kind of get away from the hustle and bustle of downtown. It's quiet enough, but not so quiet that you start getting paranoid. So Winston has a lot to offer. It's just a beautiful, culturally rich city that I'm appreciative of.
Nice.
Now, you said that, Winston has a lot of water,
Yeah.
but I think the one thing that Winston is missing, and I love to build up Winston, but I think the only thing we're missing is a river. Yeah. All the big places, think of any big town.
Yeah.
You have a river, or at least a large creek that runs through it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the only thing we're missing in this town that would elevate us to that next
The
level.
creek at Haynes Park with all the cool metalwork bridges
Yeah.
that go across it, and that thing, all the massive stonework that's all the way around it. That is a gorgeous park that's been sort of fallen, not into disrepair. We've had some really cool stuff that just actually came back and made it nicer, but some of that vegetation and so forth, you cleaned up some of that, put some big boulders on either side. That's a very cool creek. Every time I walk through there, I think this has got limitless potential to do all kinds of great stuff with.
Yeah.
You have someone you can talk to about that.
You know a guy?
I do know a guy.
Well, if we get a heavy enough rain, you can actually go boating out there.
You can.
Yeah,
It's
we've
true.
seen, but not only that, with Muddy Creek is the same way. We've seen people in tubes going down Muddy Creek, and even Salem Creek, riding that green, because we have a greenway, Salem Creek Greenway right there. But I've been on that greenway and seen otters on their backs swimming in that creek eating fish. And so when you start seeing things like that, you're like, oh man, this place is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that in other municipalities where I've worked or been around, but we have enough creeks and streams and bodies of water that you dig down far enough, you'll find them. Salem Lake, and you have this 12 and a quarter acre freshwater lake at the quarry, not even a quarter mile from each other. And we have a lot of water, but if we had something like what you were mentioning, we would be able to capitalize.
Because I'm thinking, and this is very grandiose, but think Chicago. Mm-hmm. It's known because the river runs right through it. New York, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh actually has more bridges than any other city in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, even more than Venice.
Wow. I
case
worked
that's
in San
something you didn't
Antonio.
Yeah, I am Trivia Tim.
I
That's
worked
how I
in
met
San
my
Antonio,
wife.
Texas for about 5 months.
Yeah.
And the Riverwalk down there, just all of the businesses that the city was able to capitalize on that, and water attracts people.
It does.
And so I wish we did have something like that. It would probably I'd probably have to double my staff to maintain it if it was park property, but
that means people would be here.
Yeah.
And you would have more dumped into the economy that you could hire more staff.
Exactly. I think the town of Cary just finished building recently a park downtown. It's about $50 million, and there was a struggling hotel there until they completed the park, and now the hotel stays booked.
Yeah.
And so great cities are known for their great parks, and I just feel proud that I've been part of this, lack of a better description, almost like a renaissance for the city of Winston. Over the past 20 years, we've been doing a lot of new things, a lot of cool new things, and so proud to be a part of that.
Unquestionably.
Yeah.
Did an incredible job of that stuff.
Thank you.
You see the people returning to all the parks
Yep.
that, frankly, they weren't there in the populations that they are now, and to have a hand in that is impressive.
Yeah,
well
thank
done.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's cool.
Yeah. So I think people are unaware of how many parks there are in Winston. So why don't you share that number with us?
We have 82 parks here in the city of Winston. About 3,800 acres of managed parkland.
Jeez.
And that's a lot.
Yeah.
That includes 2 golf courses, over 26 miles of trails,
The Greenway.
the greenways. And so there's a lot that we have to offer for the citizens. And typically when I ask that question at meetings or if I meet people, they're unaware of how many we have. But once they see that and you need to go see this park, you need to go check out this park, they find that they're very unique experiences at each one. No two parks that we have are the same.
Is there a comprehensive list of the parks?
Yes, we do. We actually have a full list of all of our park locations, which is on our website. There's an interactive map on there that can direct people to, and you're able to kind of visit the park without going there using GIS. You can kind of look around and see what's there. Mm-hmm. We also have an app that people can download and use, and it uses GPS. So regardless of where you are in the city, if you're looking for the closest playground or the closest ball field, you can search for that, and it'll give you directions to that.
So what's the app called?
It's our We Play app. If you go on iOS or Google Android, and you Google Winston-Salem Recreation, it'll show up. It'll be an icon with our logo on it.
You need a like an interactive game that every park location should have a QR code. And you go and you scan the QR code. It gives you credit for being there. And if you go to all 82 or however many you said, then you get a free coffee at Remedy.
That's a good idea.
After he and I finish negotiating, we can probably get there. But it's funny that you mentioned that because that's coming. We've already experimented with some of that at, like for instance, at Salem Lake. Our staff has created some brand new environmental education programs where they actually go out and geolocate things out along the park, and then they come back and get credit for something. So we kind of did it on a smaller scale so we can figure out how to do it on a larger scale, but it's coming.
Excellent. So yeah, I have good ideas. Just somebody else already thought of them. But
So what else do we have coming in our parks? You know, it might not be for, a couple of years, but what do people have to look forward to?
Well, pickleball is not going away.
no, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's ping pong for real life people.
And honestly, like when a couple of years ago when pickleball first kind of took off, here in Winston, we're like, okay, well, we hear you, we're going to do some things, but you start seeing commercials and you start seeing these tournaments and you start seeing the draw. One of the things that we've always wanted to do but have had difficulty doing is getting people to take ownership of our parks. We have a very, very active pickleball group here in the city of Winston-Salem. So we've built some outdoor pickleball courts. We're expanding that. We're adding some more. We'll have quite a few dedicated courts just for pickleball where they're not having to modify tennis courts to play. And we're very, very excited about that. We recently we have 17 recreation centers here in the city of Winston-Salem. That is a lot. We have the ones where we have gyms. We've recently renovated the floors on the gyms and put down new hardwood floors in all the gyms. And literally, I was at home watching March Madness and looking at all these fancy courts that these college players are playing on. I was like, man, why can't we have some of that? And now we do. And so each one of our courts has a custom design on the floor that just makes those places more fun to be in and play on. So if these colleges and universities and pro teams can have them, figure we can do the same. So very excited about that. Not a whole lot of brand new things. About 5 years ago, we completed a deferred maintenance assessment. And it's that one taboo topic that no one wants to talk about, but we had to fix a lot of things that we had that were broken. And so that's been our focus over the past few years. And we've, between the 2014 bonds and the 2018 bonds, we've been able to kind of nudge that down so that our deficit isn't as bad. But when we completed that study, we realized we had about almost $48 million worth of deferred maintenance needs across our park system. And a lot of these things people can't see. It's infrastructure, things that are underground. So we've been upgrading that, replacing irrigation systems, doing some major improvements at the golf course, at Winston Lake Golf Course that are long overdue. That's going to be something that if you do play golf, even if you haven't played golf, it will provide a very, very nice golf course for people to kind of go out and experience and enjoy. So we're doing about 60 acres of tree removal. That's a lot.
And you can eat at Papa Lee's.
And you can eat at Papa Lee's. And some of the best wings in Winston. They're delicious.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a transformative process for Winston Lake because anyone that's currently living in Winston-Salem would have never been able to see the golf course like they're getting ready to be able to view it. And so that's something we're also very, very proud of. But part of that is deferred maintenance. It's getting things back to the way that they need to be because people are getting out and using our facilities a lot more.
And the website is weplay.com?
WePlay.ws.
Weplay.ws, so you can find out more about the parks there.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's no problem at all.
And you can find us at Twin City Talk on Facebook and Instagram. And our website is www.twincitytalk.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
The views and opinions portrayed by guests on this podcast are not necessarily those of the distributors and hosting companies. And if you love this podcast, that's great, but don't think about stealing it. Reach out to us and talk about the content because it is copyrighted.